switch gears to just ministry in general. I know a lot of us are involved in ministry at one level or another. Maybe you're married to a pastor, you're on staff at a church, or whatever it is. But I love Kay's heart for other pastors' wives. She and I share that love of them. And but maybe I have several questions here, and I know I'm trying to watch the clock for you. But maybe just speak to what I think a lot of women in ministry deal with, a lot of loneliness there. Maybe speak to some suggestions on finding some community, which can be hard if you're in maybe a church planting situation where you don't have staff or small staff kind of situations. Can you talk to that, the importance of it?
It is. That is, whenever I talk to pastors' wives, the same questions get asked because we deal with the exact same things. It doesn't matter what size your church is or how long you've been there. Some of the issues are exactly the same, from place to place to place, and the women always, and that's one of the questions that always gets asked. A life in ministry can be really lonely. It can be really rich. It can be incredibly rewarding. It can have some of the deepest relationships you've ever encountered. And it can also have moments of profound loneliness when you feel like that it is you and your husband, or sometimes just you, because you may be feeling a little alienated from him at a moment, that it's just you against the world, and you are sacrificing so much, and you're giving up so much. You give up maybe a lot financially, or you give up a lot of your family time, or you give up your privacy. Your life, that living in the fishbowl is a very apt description. We do live with people watching us all the time. How we dress, how we eat, how we smile, we laugh appropriately at our husband's jokes, if our kids are behaving in the right way, what school do we send our kids to, where do we get our hair done? I mean, the list is just endless of the way that people scrutinize our lives. And that can lead you to feel pretty lonely sometimes and isolated. And my parents were in ministry, and so I watched this firsthand in a way that I decided I was going to do differently. I was totally open to God leading me to marry a minister, even though I'd grown up in a minister's home, so that says something positive about the family I grew up in. But I decided I wasn't going to do friendship the same way my parents did. My parents were taught in seminary that you don't get close to the people in your church because it can create jealousies, it can create people feel like, well, why are you hanging out with them? It just was not a good thing. So they pretty much they were loving, warm, incredible people, but in terms of their friendships, they didn't have close friendships within the church. And I watched them be very lonely. And when my younger brother became a drug addict, a heroin addict, for a period of years, they went through that by themselves. They did not feel that they could share that. Guys, I have to tell you something. I don't know if I can do it without crying.
You can do it.
Okay. It's just that it's really fresh. My cousin married to a minister, and about 6 weeks ago he committed suicide. And probably the deepest reason that he did, besides some mental illness issues, is because as a pastor he didn't feel the freedom to share where he was struggling. And he had lived his entire ministry life carrying the burdens of thousands of people. The line to view at the viewing at the mortuary went on for hours because there were so many people that he helped, so many people whose lives he touched, so many people he was there for them. But when he was struggling, he didn't feel the freedom to share that. And at the end of the day, it became the tipping point for him in which the easiest and the best solution was to take his own life. It's the most graphic example I've seen in a long time of the danger of trying to live in isolation, carrying your burdens, carrying the struggles of ministry on your own shoulders. You need friendships. You need relationships. You need deep intimacy. It doesn't have to be with 50 people, but it needs to be with just even a couple, people that you can be real, people that you can say, I hurt. I can't make my faith work right here. I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying, and my faith, I can't get it to reconcile with this area of my life, or I've so wanted to be different than I am and I'm not, and I don't like this. And the sacrifice of being in ministry is the criticism that comes, and there's lots, you know this, the criticism that comes. If you don't know it yet, you will. You're going to get hit with boatloads of criticism of being in ministry. And it stabs like a knife because you give and you give and you give, and sometimes to be turned around and be greeted back with criticism or misunderstanding or sometimes just downright hatred. downright hatred of people. And it can cause you to just, instead of living your life, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians, I have opened my arms wide to you, he says. I have opened my arms wide to you in embrace. And most of us start ministry like that. I'm ready to do this. I love people. I love God. I'm ready to do what he asks me to do. And as the hurts kind of pile on, and the life circumstances and the criticism and stuff, and we find ourselves slowly with our stance sleeping wide open, before long, we've got pretty much a closed stance. You're not going to hurt me. Not letting those people close anymore. I've given and given, and I'm not doing it anymore. And instead of living with our arms wide open, we live in a closed way. So I'm encouraging you to not let the inherent isolation that can come in ministry dominate. When we first started Saddleback and it was just us, we didn't have any other staff, one of the things that we did pretty quickly, within a couple of years, was to become a part of an extended staff, pastors and wives, little group. Pastor's wife here, Lori Beshore, and her husband, Kenton, were part of that group. It's where I met Lori, and we were young mommies with little kids, and now we're grandmommies. But there were several of us, and just put out a letter to other churches in the area and said, okay, we're just starting. We don't know anybody. Would any of you ladies like to get together for lunch at Coco's or my house and come have cheese sandwiches or something? Nothing huge. It was not about impressing each other. We didn't spend time talking, well, at our church we do this. Well, at our church we do this. It was more about, your deacons are driving you crazy. Me too. I'm going to kill them. or my child is just really struggling being in the limelight. One of my kids loves it. My 28-year-old always introduced himself from the time he was a little boy. My name is Josh, but you can call me Little Pastor Rick. Loved it from the time fine. And my daughter and my younger son were much more not liking the limelight. But just to bring those things with other wives who know, nobody knows our lives like we do. This is why I have such a passion for pastors' wives. I don't know you or many of you at all. But if we had a chance to just sit down for a few minutes, within a very short space of time, I think some of the same issues, the same struggles, the same questions, the same needs would come up. And so as we support each other, don't let isolation kill you. You send the little note or the email out. You find other pastors' wives in your area. You get together with them. You support each other. Lori has this amazing network. I totally believe in what she's doing and building this on the virtual network where you don't even have to live in the same city. You can live across the country. You could live in another part of the world and connect with other pastors' wives who are feeling what you're feeling, experiencing what you're feeling. Don't use that as an excuse. It's there, it's a problem, but don't use it as an excuse. Be proactive, reach out, connect with other women, connect with those in your area and through on the internet. And because you need it. You've got to stay built up. You've got to have a safe place where you can be real, be yourself, share your joys, your struggles, the ups and downs, the hard parts, the good parts, the questioning parts, the parts of, can I survive another day in ministry because it's about to kill me, and have somebody else pour life back into you. You got to do it. Don't be passive about this.